Hey guys, welcome back to the Lambeth Made Podcast. Today we are so excited to have two amazing guests who play a vital role in helping shape Lambeth and make positive impacts to the community. I'm excited to introduce...
So I'm JP, I'm the Mayor of Lambeth.
And I'm Dr. Mohammed Hashi, Councillor in Lambeth.
Thank you so much for coming. I know a little about you, but would it be possible if you guys can share your role and your journey?
Yeah, so my name is John Paul, or JP. I'm the mayor, so I'm the first citizen of the borough. So normally I have a gold chain on as part of my role. Today I just got a pouch. But my role is as the civic leader of the borough. So I'm the first citizen, I'm the representative of the council. I'm there to support communities, support charities, and I'm the youngest we've ever had. So a big part of what my role is trying to support young people, inspire young people, create opportunities for them, show them different pathways. And I'm also the youngest in London as well. So trying to lean on that a little bit and do some cool stuff.
We love that.
So I am Dr. Hashi. I am a councillor in Lambeth, specifically in Stockwell. I've lived in Stockwell a very, very long time. And I'm really glad to have been elected to represent the residents in the area, amplifying their voice when they've got issues, etc. I'm also a cabinet member and a cabinet member for Safer Communities. So I look after the council's response to reducing violence with young people, reducing violence against women and girls. I also look after the enforcement function around licensing. So every licensed premises, so everywhere that sells alcohol, sells hot food and plays music comes under my team's enforcement. And I also look after youth commissioning. So looking after ensuring the organisations that work with young people get properly funded and deliver appropriate services to make sure our young people can shine as bright as they can.
Ooh, we love that. You guys have done some serious work in the community, especially with young people. Can you take us back to the moment when you realised you had to do something big, or what actually led you to the position you are today?
I think for me, it's also, I've been a youth worker 25 years now. I know I don't look it, but
Definitely.
For me, it was, the way I got into youth work was I was going to a local youth club, and you know, there was a day where one of the youth workers who's like our football coach, he didn't turn up. And they were saying, you lot can't be on the pitch without someone supervising. Mm-hmm. And I ended up speaking to the manager, and she said that I could, if I agreed to supervise and make sure people behaved on the pitch, that I could go out there and supervise it. At the end of the session, I ended up filling in a volunteer form, and I ended up volunteering. And then within the next couple of months, I ended up getting a paid role. And for me, that was like a paid role, like really just being with my friends and, do you know what I mean, spending time with them, but also making sure things were well, started getting more responsibilities, etc. And for me, it was just a reminder of how easy it is to be a young person with no responsibilities and then become a young person with responsibilities, and the kind of opportunity of development it gives you. And for me, that was really when I knew that I weren't never going to leave youth work. And I also remember before I became a councillor, going to a local MP who's not an MP no more and asking him for help. You know, I'm thinking, yes, like he's from where I'm from, you know, like we look the same, etc. And I remember saying to him, look, you know, the young people need support. We need help. I'm not asking for money. I just want support setting up an organisation. And do you know what I mean? Yeah. And he jumped up, patted me on my back and said, well done, Hashi. It's great work you're doing. And then walked off. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. So we're really in this by ourselves, do you know what I mean? Especially if that's the attitude of people in those positions, then we got to really step up into those positions. And that was part of what got me into being a councillor, as well as, you know, a lady called Tessa Jowl, who was a local MP. She was like, my experience with her was like the opposite. Mm-hmm. She was always there to listen. She just felt like she was always there no matter what for the community, and she never kind of pushed her weight around. She was an important person, do you know what I mean? She was the one that brought the Olympics to London almost single-handedly in 2012. You know, people respected her. People were terrified of her as well. And I just remember thinking to myself, how? Like, how do you have this influence over people without even necessarily doing anything? So she a lot of how I am now is because of how she was. And, you know, fortunately, I got elected in 2018, like 5 days before she passed away. And I got the message from her saying, you know, I'm so proud of you for doing it, blah, 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 etc. So for me, she's the kind of blueprint for a lot of the work that I do.
Yeah, I love that.
And how do you follow that?
Yeah.
I'll try. So for me, I think I've always grown up in like Brixton and Stockwell. And then when I was 17, I wasn't really interested in like politics or like growing up. I didn't really care about making a difference in my community. I was more just want to play football, just chill with my friends, play outside, do whatever nonsense I was doing. But then I went through like quite a negative experience.
Yeah.
So my mum passed away when I was 17. And I remember going to school next day and like, it was a few days after my birthday. And it felt like no one cared. Like the world moved on, do you know what I mean? I went to school, same as normal. Everyone was still doing their thing. And she was a very good person, like a nice person, always trying to help others. And I had this mad like thing about trying to make it a lasting impact, something that made a difference so that I wouldn't be forgotten. So that was like kind of like a weird kind of moment for me, the first time I properly experienced that loss. And I just threw myself into just trying to make a difference. And then I realized actually that I was actually quite an angry person.
Yeah.
So obviously going through something bad.
That's hard to believe actually.
But I'm angry.
Yeah.
Why? I just seem chill.
Definitely.
Okay, that's good.
I can't even imagine you shouting.
Gets angry all the time.
Yeah, particularly about football and stuff. When Arsenal don't win
When
games.
you're an Arsenal fan, it gets like
I mean,
that,
the refs, man, the refs get me mad. No, but I was just realised I was actually angry low-key about a lot of things that are going on around us. And I think a lot of people are, but they become very like detached from it because they think, oh, we can't do anything about it, so what's the point?
Yeah.
But there's loads of problems, like housing problems, just things happening in the community, people not feeling safe, you know, issues with the police when I was growing up and like in and around my friends. And there's loads of like kind of little things that really, but actually quite big things, always made us angry, but we never knew how to tackle them.
Yeah.
And youth voices weren't really listened to. And so from then it was just a big thing. I just wanted to get involved, try and make a positive impact, make a difference. And then managed to join this, get on this program called the Advocacy Academy. And they kind of took me under their wing. I was one of the first participants on the program. And they basically, it's like a year-long program teaching you about social justice issues and how to tackle them. And they're based in Brixton. So if there's any young person that's really interested in kind of making that change, 100% I can put you in contact with them as well.
Really good organisation.
Yeah, amazing. And they teach you how to be great campaigners. So like in the first week of it, you go and give a speech to an MP in Parliament. It's like really life-changing for me. And then from then, just carried on in that thing, like I started doing community organising, campaigning. And then I think after COVID, I was like, actually what I want to do is be on the other side of the table. I'm always campaigning to someone, asking the councillor for help, asking the Mayor of London for help around issues. But now I want to see what it's like to be a community member on the other side. Yeah. Kind of demystify that black box of the council and see how things work and how we can change things. And then managed to get elected for Brixton North, which is where I live, in 2022. And then became mayor last year.
So I feel like you skipped. So how I met JP was he was working on a project called Undivided.
Okay.
And that was a project that you told them a bit more about it, but what was it? They engaged 4 million young people into politics.
Yeah, so when I was 19, it was the year I graduated from the Advocacy Academy. Brexit happened, 2016. Yeah. And I remember being on the BBC, BBC World Service and BBC Radio 4 the night of the election. So all my friends, it was like just after final A-level exams, all my friends were in like Piccadilly Institute and other places in Central, and I was in the BBC studios down the road while they were all clubbing. And I remember just feeling so angry about the result. And I had this guy from Sunderland who was next to me, and he was like, we're leaving. It was like 2 a.m. I was tired. I wanted to bang him. I can't lie. But I remember just feeling so angry, right? And like all these youth voices across the country weren't really listening to about what Brexit will look like. And like people like my granddad who voted leave. Yeah. And I remember just like being so angry, like, anyways, don't want to get into all of that. But then we set up a campaign in Brixton called, we didn't know what the name was going to be. It just came as a group of people in Brixton trying to come up with a solution. How do we get young people's voices heard on this massive national issue? And we eventually formed like this, we did this little hackathon, got loads of different young people in across like a week, came up with the whole campaign idea, the name. We ended up, We Are Undivided. So trying to unite voices across it, whether you voted leave, remain, or weren't old enough to vote, just having your voice represented on this big discussion was important. And we managed to engage 4 million young people across the country. So I had to go Northern Ireland as a guest speaker, like Scotland, Wales, all of that. That was when I was 19, and it's the largest ever UK youth-led campaign. And then it formed a permanent group, or it was an APPG, so a group in Parliament that were discussing young people's Brexit with different MPs and stuff, which was quite cool. Yeah, and then obviously Brexit happens like after a while, and so that group no longer exists anymore because it's not necessary. But they were feeding into like that kind of process about what Brexit would look like. So that was quite a cool campaign. That's how I met Hashi originally. He came to the press release, the press launch. Did like a big launch event. Yeah, we were on TV a lot that day as well. We were trending #1 on Twitter, and then
Before it was called X.
Yeah. So Twitter, we were trending #1 on Twitter, but we made a mistake because we actually did the launch the same day as the Great British Bake Off final, and so we actually ended up coming #2 trending on Twitter by the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Great British Bake Off took over.
Yeah. I noticed that the one thing that you two both have in common is that you kind of had a purpose that drove you to the position that you are. So there's a lot of young people, I feel like, that feel stuck, and instead of actually turning their problem into a solution, they're kind of dwelling on the problem that they're facing now. So what advice would you give to someone who's stuck and don't know how to like monetize the position they're in right now, and what route would they take? Because as you said, you helped 4 million youth individuals get into politics, which is literally an advocate for what you do. It's just really impressive. So what about the people who's not familiar with that, or who doesn't know that there's opportunities like that that's going on? So
I think the big thing is trying to find out like your why. Like so there's a couple different ways of doing that. It's either, for me, it was what made me angry. I think anger is a really good tool. So I think everyone's just afraid of anger. Being angry feels like a dirty word. If you're angry, there's something wrong. But I think that's how you find out what you're passionate about, what you really care about. So for example, even if you have a business idea and you're frustrated that this idea is not going anywhere, you're angry about it.
Yeah.
Or it can be like, sometimes you have a business idea, you want to make money because things, you might be struggling, you need income or whatever. That's something that you're angry about. So there's a way of like kind of using that anger to kind of find out what your why is, what your purpose is, what do you want to change, and then leaning into that a lot, and then trying to find different organizations that can help you, empower you to make a change around that. So for me, it was the Advocacy Academy, and there's loads of people in the community that know a lot of stuff. So like, I think our role as councillors and as people in the community is to try and connect young people to that. And try and facilitate those conversations to point them into people who can help them. So there's like Carl. I don't know if you want to talk about. Yeah, if you want to. You can talk. You know more than me about what he does in terms of the business side of things. But there's so many people in the community who we're all trying to make like an impact in different ways. And if we come together and we can connect young people to these different things and make that change. So.
I think similar to that for me, it's about. Especially with young people, there's because of social media, etc. There's always a pressure to be successful now, and what a lot of young people don't realize is that in your youth, that's when you're supposed to make the mistakes. Mistakes and failures allow you to learn what doesn't work, and it brings you closer to what does work. Do you know what I mean? And one of the people that I really think about, there was a film called The Founder, and it's about the guy who started McDonald's. And he was, when McDonald's, one of the biggest kind of, fast food restaurant in the world, he was over 50 years old. I think he was 53 when he kicked it off. Do you know what I mean? There's no rush. And I think a lot of young people have to be a lot more patient, learn what they're good at, learn what their passion is, learn what they want to do, rather than feel pressured into, being perfect at 18, 19, which is, I think, crazy. If I'm honest with you, and it's as JP said, when you look at our community, there's so many inspirations, and none of them ain't necessarily young. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to be 17, 18, 19 and you're not on your way to being a millionaire or have 130,000 social media followers. Do you know what I mean? That's not necessarily success. That's a good way to get burnt out really early and kind of derail your future. So for me, it's just have to just remind young people to allow themselves to be young people, allow themselves to learn, and also realize that there is like your opportunities at a young age are unlimited. There's no real failure. Everything is just a lesson that makes you better for the future, and that's how I always see it. As I say often when I talk about my kind of experience, I've got a degree in biomedical science. I went on to do my PGC to become a qualified science teacher. Got my master's in forensic science. I got a PhD, and on paper that looks fantastic. What it doesn't tell you is that I failed every level of education in this country to get there. You know, I failed my GCSEs, had to retake them, had to retake my A-levels, had to retake my last year of uni for my biomedical science, had to retake a number of modules in my masters. Do you know what I mean? And if you don't have the patience for that journey, then you will never get to the end. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of young people, I think that's what they need to realize. Just chill out. It's just all right. You know what I mean? It's all right to
take time.
Take time. It's all right not to get to your goal the first time. As long as you build up that resilience and you make sure your mind is strong. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, there's no such thing as failure unless you accept it to be that stop in your journey. Yeah.
And I think, with social media, what you said is so true. Like, people compare themselves to other people, like influencers, celebs. There's a lot of that. And I think a lot of people, we need to kind of reinstill that kind of hope for young people that you still can achieve things and that there are pathways out there. You might not know what those pathways are yet, but there are opportunities and there are things out there for you. And so just, you know, we can then help try and connect those young people to it. But then, like Hashi said, take time. Like, things will come. You know, every journey starts with a single step. You don't have to be 100%. That person that does everything straight away. Like, just take that first step and you'll be on your way. You know?
And even when we talk back on those social media, so many of those influencers are really, really unhappy. They work 100%. So much on building up the image that their actual lives ain't necessarily like that. You know, and I think for me, there's also a danger of your personal life being so public. You know, some of these streamers stream 24/7. They don't realize it, and it creates a bit of a fallacy in terms of your life. So really, a lot of these young people might not even want that lifestyle. So it's really, and that's what I'm saying, it's really about learning what you're like. A lot of these young people won't know that they're a bit introverted. Do you know what I mean? That they have a social battery. It's you know what I mean? It's too young to know that stuff. You think you got a boundless and endless energy for things like this until you find yourself in that position, and then you see you're flagging. You don't want to talk to no one. You start going through depression, and a lot of young people don't understand that's what you're running to. So just take time and get to know yourself, and you know, this is the part of luxury. It's like when you're young, I feel like you run towards adulthood, and when you're adult, you're so upset that you missed all that time as a young person.
So I feel like in both hoods, you're basically facing the same problem. You're literally running to each other. So
I feel like just take, like they always say, the present is a present. You know what I mean? Take care of that gift.
Yeah, one value point I took from both of you is to learn your why. And I actually done a human psychology course the other day, and the one thing that they taught me is that you got to learn the root problem. And I feel like the key problem that's probably hindering the youth to actually access their why is the mental health. And actually identifying that there's a difference between mental health and mental issues. And I feel like mental health is something that's developed after a while from the mental issue that wasn't addressed. So what's you guys' thoughts on the mental health state or for adults and the youth? Because I feel like there's a correlation to why the youth are today, the fact that there was lack of education, and I feel like, especially how you guys explained that you had your purpose and what drove you to actually get to where you are, that a lot of people don't actually know how to access their whys because I don't feel like there's enough information about your mental health and how to control your emotions and even trauma that's happening at home. So what's you guys' thoughts?
I feel like for me, when we talk about mental health is something that exists in all of us. The question is it good mental health or bad mental health? So already there's a bit of a challenge there because people, as you said earlier, people talk about mental health like a dirty word. And it's just a state that you're in, period.
Do you know it's actually a fact that mental health is one of the most common words that are thrown around?
100%. It's not good for my mental health. You know what I mean? Like, people always say things like without understanding. For me, I was at the age of 15, I was a victim of a stabbing, and at the age of 23, I was a victim of a shooting. And it took 5 years for me to get diagnosed with post-traumatic stress after the shooting. Yeah, 5 years. 5 years of being hyper-aware, hyper-vigilant, never resting, not being able to sleep. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was nuts. And that was me with all my degrees, working a good job, getting a good support network, good support from family and friends. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of our young people have gone through similar experiences or had lost their friends, etc. And no one ever picks up on it. And for me, I think that's what's running rife through our community, is that undiagnosed, untreated, unsupported mental health. Sometimes our children are quiet and don't talk because they've been taught not to, especially our young black men, if we're being completely honest. They're the ones that I think are most affected by this, where they've been taught this kind of toxic masculinity of take it on the chin, just get on with it. Don't be a this and don't be a that, and you got to be a man and just, do you know what I mean? Just get on with it. And what that means is that they're not being taught how to manage their emotions. They're not being taught how to process emotions, grief, things those kind of things really push you over the edge if you don't get the support that you need. So I think for us as a community, we need to do a lot more courses like mental health first aid courses. We do physical first aid, but what about the mental health first aid? What happens when you see someone going through psychosis or schizophrenia? We don't understand that. In our community specifically, we're always talking about that person's gone mad.
Yes,
that's it.
Very
we're not
true.
talking about no mental health. In some of the more religious and more traditional backgrounds, you start talking about that person's been possessed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need to take them to church or take them to mosque and read this over them, etc. And I'm not denying that's those things might exist in those faiths, but sometimes it's just a simple thing that someone's seen something or experienced something that hasn't been managed for them. It's as simple as that. They didn't get the support when they needed that support. And I think our young people are so voiceless right now. They're so, unseen that the only time we see them is when a crime happens and the media wants to kind of sensationalize it.
Yeah.
Because, I remember a few years ago, one of the former leaders of the council said that less than 1% of our children and our young people are involved in crime. Less than 1%. But they're disproportionately represented in crime stats. So what happens to all those young people that are doing amazing? We never celebrate them. But they're standing next to someone who's done something bad and they get all the support. So like that must be bad for their mental health. Do you know what I mean? That must be bad for their mentality.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that a lot more work has to be done on recognizing that and understanding it and supporting it.
That's very true.
Anything to add?
Yeah, I was going to touch on what you said about the trauma and stuff and like the trauma-informed practices.
Yeah.
And trying to, because a lot of our young people, even me, I was like, you don't know. I feel like you become kind of like numb to a lot of things because you don't really know. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Like, for example, even when I became a counsellor, I'll see something mad happening in a park. I don't even think it's that mad. So like I'll just see something crazy happening. Someone said, you should do something about that. I'm like, oh yeah, I should. But for me, it's like normal. Do you know what I mean? And there was like when I say something mad in the park, I mean like people were taking drugs or something in the park.
Yeah.
And there's like so many things that I think our young people are just so like
desensitized.
Desensitized, that's the word I was looking for. They're so desensitized to, and they don't even have the words or the understanding of how to express their emotions or how they're feeling because they don't even understand it themselves. And so that kind of trauma-informed like practice and teaching, and how do we, I think, more of that needs to go on in the community. I think schools as well, like teachers in schools, they need, when if a student is misbehaving a little bit or acting out, maybe not doing homework, maybe just being a little bit quiet in the class, maybe talking to someone, maybe there's reasons behind that. Maybe they're a little bit on edge, maybe they're a little bit angry for whatever reason.
100%.
But how do you then engage with that young person from a place of understanding and encouraging them to speak or open up about what they're feeling rather than just getting onto them in front of the whole class and then feeding into that cycle and making it worse.
So I'd even ask you, even for you, when you lost your mum, how much support did you get for that? You know what I mean? Because you talk about being angry and sometimes you're just looking at that and you're thinking,
I remember I wanted to punch.
Not be angry?
I remember I tried to punch the wall and I got told to stop being stupid. Like little things like that, do you know what I mean? It's like, it just gets pushed
what
away.
Was you, 17?
Yeah, it was a few days after my 17th birthday. A lot of times, I think when you're young, you think, I can't do much now. You get told you have to wait till you're a bit older to do things. But actually, there's a lot of power in being young. So for example, like I said, someone in my late 20s, strip away my title. If I email someone, ask them for a meeting, I'll probably just get like ignored or like pushed to the side, depending on who it is. If you're a young person and you say, I want to meet with you to talk about this, can you mentor me? Can you teach me this? People are much more
Everyone's trying to do that.
100% because they want to look good, one, but also they feel powerful by doing that as well. And they genuinely want to help a young person. So lean into the power of your youth, take risks, not take risk and prosper, you get what I'm saying? But take risks in terms of like communicating, reaching out to people and having that conversation because the worst thing you can get is like a no or like no one responded.
And that's very rare because exactly. Because doing it is you got to, one of the sayings I live by is there's no robbery in a fair exchange. You know, as a young person, if you know the person wants to feel representative, they want to have a young person by their side, you might be from a BME background, which is, there's a big gap around that. You just make sure you're getting what you need out of that kind of exchange as well. If they're getting a young person from a BME background, you know, engaging with them, you got to make sure you get what you want out of it. And I think that's the important thing is figure out what you want to get out of it, figure out, you know, how you're going to get out of it, then reach out. And the truth is, I wish if I could go back in time, I would have done everything that I'm doing exactly the same earlier.
Yeah.
Because we just, like I said, we just chilled out without direction for a long time. And, you know, by the grace of God, we fumbled upon these opportunities, you know what I mean, just come across them. But it's like for years I was told that, stay out of politics, it's not for us, it's not for our community, etc. And that was one of the biggest fallacies I was ever told. Everything happens in the rooms that I'm sitting in now. And you can see the severe lack of people from our community, people from, you know, the younger groups, etc., not representative. And for me, it's like, how can we talk about young people and young people policies without young people in the room?
They need to be, the conversations and decisions are being made whether you're in the room or not. So you should be in the room to influence what happens because they're going to affect you.
And Tyra, you should be leading by example and coming into the rooms.
Sure.
Standing as a councillor senior.
Yeah. I'll be happy to. That is such vital information. And I feel like, this is what the youth need to hear, especially coming from people actually of power. And the one thing I actually respect and honor about you guys is that you're so authentic and you come as yourself. And I feel like the gap between especially like the professional scene and the youth is that I don't feel like there's nothing that they can really relate on. Like, for example, you explain about your teacher not giving you the attention or just simple, just checking in. So I really respect that you guys come as you are and you're literally raw and intentional about what you're doing, because there's a lot of people that's just doing their job for the money. And they're angry at as you said, they're angry at what they do. And I feel like that's what's probably slowed down the process of what's happening now. And I think that's what makes you guys different. And that's why we can actually see a change. And I feel like the one thing why people will probably think there's not much going on is because, as you said, I feel like there's a bigger stigma that they're trying to grow on, which is like the negative field of Lambeth, when there's actually a lot of big things, there's a lot of talent, there's so much things that's going on, but I feel like the media especially is just shining a negative light. And because the youth is exposed to social media, that's all they know. No one's picking up a newspaper no more as one time, or no one's really having time to sit down and watch the news. They're just literally sitting down on TikTok and it's just quick news. It's not really... And the thing is, we won't really get informed about the positive things that's happening, like what you've done for the community. That is a big thing, but we'll more so see if someone's being stabbed than them promoting what you're doing. So I feel like you guys definitely deserve more exposure, and I will be in the rooms with you.
Come on.
Definitely. Just to wrap up, I would like to do a mental health check with you guys. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling happy.
I feel
like
from 1 to 10.
On a scale of 1 to 10,
Yeah.
I'm feeling 8.
Lovely.
Had a great time.
I'm fantastic, if I'm honest with you, by the grace of God. I am feeling, I would say about a 7. But I'm about to go and get a massage, so it should be a 10 by like this afternoon.
What would make you have a 10, JP?
What would make me have a 10? I think if I didn't have a late night last night, I'm just a little bit tired. But I had a good time here. This, do you know what? Before I came here, I was like a 5 or a 6. But this made me bring it up to 8.
Same.
Yeah, is it?
Fantastic.
Same, definitely. I'm on a 10 right now. You guys have me buzzing.
Oh, fantastic.
Really appreciate you guys coming.
Thank
Is there
you.
anywhere we can find your social medias?
Yeah. So on Twitter, I'm not that active on Twitter, but Instagram is always JP_SW9.
Yeah, it's represented.
Yeah, me, I don't really have social media like that.
Yeah.
So if you want to find me, you got to look for me.
Google.
Yeah, but you can, obviously anyone can email us as well. But anything, and we can.
I think that's the main thing.
That's the big thing.
If something's serious or people want guidance or something, our emails are on the Lambeth website.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And that is the Lambeth Made Podcast. Bye.